Greetings, I'm Shad.
And greetings, I am Tyranth.
And today we are doing our own commentary kind of reaction to the short film that we recently made.
Yep.
Yeah, the collaboration between myself and Tyranth's channel Screen Tested for The Crown.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
We're recording this before it's out. So
we are.
We are really interested to see what people's reactions are. But we wanted to do this commentary to give some behind-the-scenes context of how we made it, what we went about, and all, because there's some really interesting things that I think you guys might find fascinating about this. And so some of the first stuff I feel is worth talking about before we even start reacting to the moments is the setup for the day. All right? So this was all done in one day.
Roughly about like 6 hours.
6 hours, yes.
When you take away all the time it took to get us out there and start pressing record on cameras to do stuff, about 6 hours and about 2 hours and 10 minutes of choreography, swinging swords, fighting stuff.
So that's important. So there was slow-mo shots and setup shots and setting up the equipment and everything. But when we actually got to start to record the fighting content, we had 2 hours basically to get it all done.
Well, we didn't start until about 2:30, which is really late in the day. We were in full armor, and because I changed stupidly, I changed the location on the day because I thought it would look better, and I think it did look better in the final product. But because we did that, the sun was in different spots than we originally had planned, and the sun was basically in our face for hours on end, and we got sunburned.
I got fried. I'm like peeling skin and everything, but I was willing to sacrifice it.
Yes, but those things kind of compound those issues. So we got a lot more tired than we should have, but we're also, we didn't have as much time as we should have.
Now, the reason why the time frame that we had is significant is because, look, in my maybe not so humble opinion, I am really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks friggin' great.
I'm a little bit different, but I've done a couple of these, and I wanted more, but that's just maybe my standards, things for me personally. But in terms of like, I think it's all right. You know?
Well, when you compare it to many of the sword fights we have reacted to on this channel, and I've done fight scene autopsies and stuff like that, with how unbelievably crap some of them are, compared to what we were able to make in 2 hours. I want people to, like, again, we choreographed that as we filmed.
Yes. Hollywood films, first off, have months. I want to make this very clear. For fight scenes that you see in movies, those shots can take months with teams of people and hundreds of thousands of dollars working on that. However, the context there is I do think we could have done better if we had more time and energy.
That's the other, because 2 hours, I think we made something that I think looks really, really good and is actually better than a lot of, like, you know, Star Wars, current Star Wars, I mean, and Hollywood stuff, right? And they have a massive budget and months. And how were we able to achieve that? A couple of things, which gives us a big advantage. One, we know how to use swords. I can't really stress that enough, how beneficial that is in capturing the sequence where it's got the right commitment, the right aggression, the right speed, and you actually land the strikes and there's not slip-ups and everything like that. And because that, we were able to quickly go through, all right, let's do a 4-beat sequence, maybe a 4-beat, 2-beat, and we go, let's work out the moves here, 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 here. And after maybe 1 or 2 setups, we're ready to almost go full commitment, bang, 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 and then we caught the shot.
Sure.
So, and again, we were only able to do that because we were very proficient with the swords already. There's a lot of actors who come into it and they don't know how to use a sword at all.
This is true, but there's also an extra added benefit that usually gets left out of these things, is that me and Nathan have done this enough that we know how to do this in a way where we can capture that a lot more efficiently than if we were just trying it for the first time.
Yeah.
That is a big caveat, because when we get on, you saw it out on the day, we go, all right, now I need slow-mo of this over here.
It was great. It was really efficient.
Getting through things.
And something that yourself and Nathan did really well, from my perspective, was the camera work.
Yes, the camera work was very good. A lot of people forget. Actually, just before we get into it, I have done, Shad convinced me to release a full behind-the-scenes video of this on my channel. If you want it, I would really hope you go watch it, because I don't want it to bomb.
It's on Screen Test. It's like, guys, please go watch. He has a kind of like the making with behind the scenes footage of the day on screen tested. So please watch that video. After you watch this one, we'll give another shout out to it at the end.
Because I go through all of the cinematography stuff, and I'm giving advice specifically to people who want to make their own fight scenes, because it's stuff that you wouldn't know if you've never done this before. And I really want fight scenes to be better, especially people on the internet. And there's a lot of criticisms that people have, but it's very easy to fix.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
And the thing is, the camera work is so important for the pacing of a fight. And I think it's done really well in this one with your work, right? And a lot of people aren't really aware of it.
Should we get into it? Because there's some stuff right off the bat that that I can explain to you guys that you'll notice, and once you see it, you'll understand.
Yes, but I'm happy for this video to take its time, because I want to go through everything. This is a full commentary on many things. There's a couple of other things that I want to comment on that we were able to achieve that mainstream can't do. And it goes back to one of the things founded on the fact that because we're both swordsmen and we're very proficient with them, we were, again, able to land those sequences much quicker and more convincingly with a very quick thing, and we're able to choreograph it together on the day as we were doing it, which was brilliant. Then we're able to do a couple of other things that, unless you have years of practice and with a sword, actors, they're not going to be able to pull it off. Sure. Second thing we're able to do, we were able to what's the right word? Improvise. Freeform. We did some freeform exchanges without any practice, just to try and get some real kind of reactions and stuff. And we'll show you where that freeform is in the stuff. And some of it, I was shocked at how well it turned out.
Keep in mind, there's a caveat to that. Yeah. Me and Shad have never done freeform like that. Like, me and Shad have sparred, which is not the same thing at all. Me and Nate used to do kind of stage stuff, which is why we've been able to do previous things. Me and Shad have never done that before, so that was unexpected.
But it worked out great.
It worked out fine,
and some of the sequences we got from that, I was really surprised with. Thing is, though, we don't necessarily recommend people try to do that, because if you're going to try and do that, one, both partners need to be very proficient in the sword, and two, they need to trust each other almost explicitly. Because in freeform, we at times doing pretty aggressive, strikes.
We're also using real steel, which was not the plan.
I want to talk about the fact that throughout this entire fight, we're using full weighted steel swords, which is interesting. We're going to comment on that and give you some more details about that.
Shad's excited about this one.
I am. There's a lot to comment on.
There is.
Okay. And so going back to that trust, all right, there were multiple times, because there were times that we did actually miss a mark, or there was a slip, or someone was a bit too slow on the block, or someone was too fast on the attack, and the sword wasn't there to stop it. And multiple times, both of us had the control where we stopped it.
Yes.
And we had the control and proficiency to be safe. We're going pretty hard, and we were on the ball enough. And again, it's one of those times where I look back, and I can look back with a sense of pride in the achievement, because we achieved something that's actually kind of difficult to do. And the fact that we did not have a single injury, and we actually proved in practice that we had the level of proficiency that each time we could see, this is out of measure, or it's a miss, or the block isn't coming in. And every time we pulled and stopped those blades before we hit each other. And I'm not saying that accidents might not happen in the future when doing that, but we had the level of proficiency to do it safely, even when doing pretty risky stuff with full steel swords.
And I do want to say this, a little bit of I don't think this is perfect. I think there's a lot of things that could have been done better. But I do think that this does have a level of cinematography and professionalism that you just don't really see. Now, I do want to add a context to that is, for me personally, the gold standard would be like Adaria stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like they do, from the sword fighting, the technical aspect, all the way to the cinematography, everything. Brilliant. So I look at them as kind of the gold standard. Everybody else is kind of just vying for second place type stuff. So I just want to add that in there. Like, we are not perfect. This was not 100% perfect. I do think we could have gotten something even better if we just had a little bit more time.
A little bit more time. And the other thing
I think that's what annoys me. It's like,
Really?
could have just gotten it so much better.
the other thing that needs to be mentioned is my chronic fatigue. Okay, people don't really understand how much I struggle with this in between filming and behind the scenes, and so that was a battle.
Yeah.
And what had to happen is that we're going pretty aggressively, and so in between a lot of these exchanges, I needed to pause and recover. And by the way, it's like been 2 weeks since we filmed, and I am only just starting to recover from that. This thing killed me.
Yeah.
And I wish, I hope that I can still try and work through my physical therapy to get past it and try and, I'm so happy with the results. I'd like to try and see if we could do something even better. If we had more time and my fitness was better, we could do something even better.
I don't blame you for not having enough time. That was not your fault.
Yeah.
I get that. It's just one of those things where, because we got so hot, because of all the weather and stuff
We're wearing our gear.
it got to the
doing
point
this.
by the end of the day, I was like done. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't do any more at that point. So this is the problem I've had with all of the short film stuff I've done, is just you usually only have a day because of weather, stuff like that. And it's just, it really isn't enough time. It's just not enough time.
Yeah. And that's why having a set that has controlled conditions, controlled lighting, you can then do it over multiple days.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to do this a second day, one, it would take 2 weeks for me to recover. And then we would need a day with some other lighting and then go through the process to set it all up again. Now, the way my chronic fatigue works is that when I have enough rest, I have a portion of energy that I can devote to something and even push myself much further than what I should probably, safely do with my health. And then I'm dead. And there's a thing called post-exertional malaise where it takes ages to recover. But I had so much fun and I'm so happy with it. I was like, I wanted to do it at least once, and I'd like to do it again if possible. Okay, so we've talked about a lot already. There's still, I want to talk about the steel.
It's going to be a long video.
It's going to be a long video. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And look, this is a bit indulgent, but I think you guys will find this interesting as well. So we did something that I don't think any mainstream film production would ever risk doing, and that's using real steel, fully weighted swords in the fight, in the choreography.
Yes. It's a lot better because you have real steel. You can do... It feels a lot better, looks a lot better, sounds a lot better.
The sounds were gorgeous
Now,
because of those swords.
To be fair, I did do most of the sound design. Like, I redid it anyway. But you have a good base to work off. That's the important part. We used steel, and we probably weren't as safe as we could have been. But this also kind of carries over. Because we weren't wearing, like, gauntlets or gloves, it means that we didn't do any hand shots, which is a bit unrealistic. So something like that is a criticism I would have for it. Was
where we don't aim for the hands.
Yeah, like stuff like that. But wearing gauntlets or gloves out in that with that on that day would have just been, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. Now, this is one of the swords that we use. This is a trainer, and it's one of the best trainers I've had. We have a behind-the-scenes video if you want more details on these swords. Thing is, though, this is actually a safer steel sword, blunt one, because it's made to be very thin at the top, which means much less mass, and a blunted tip, very flexible.
It's very similar to a feather, except it's a proper longsword.
Yeah, and it looks gorgeous on film. And
it does have a flared tip, but that flared tip is still not, it wouldn't be considered safe. You would still need to put like a rubber tip on that.
And so we chose to use steel because we couldn't get aluminium,
We just couldn't get it in time. And making them is like making a sword from scratch. Like I did not have time for that.
And the type of larpons that we have, they're too floppy. They're like, this one actually was used for the Shadow the Conqueror short film.
But this is a fantasy weapon.
But this is made to not be, it doesn't barely flex. It's much stiffer. And so even safer film ones are made to be stiffer than your average LARP one, which is made to be very safe. And as a result, it just would not look convincing on film. It just wouldn't look good if we used the LARP ones we have. And so the steel ones looked great. They sounded great. The thing is, though, and I think this is another point where I look back and I'm pretty pleased with it, is that these are full weighted swords.
Yeah.
We did this, full blown 2 hours straight, and we got the footage and we're able to do it, and with fully weighted ones. Again, avoiding injury and doing it as well, is something that I was impressed with, that we were able to pull off. and that we had the proficiency and confidence to be able to use that in a safe way and still achieve the results. I don't see many actors, unless they are actual trained swordsmen, who could pull that off.
Well, usually in stage and film, I think I've mentioned this a couple of times, they usually use something like an aluminum blade because it's a lot lighter, it's a lot safer, and they don't do a lot of thrusts because of that. We did some thrusts. Did we do enough thrusts? Kinda.
We're going to show some of the thrusts, and there's one sequence where I thought, like, holy crap, that turned out so much better than I was expecting, because the way that you do it safely, well, we'll show you in the review, because it's where you aim, it's the camera angle, and multiple things. And so, yeah, that's the prelim that I wanted to go through.
20 minutes.
But there's still more. Now we're going to get into the video. And just rounding off on the steel sword things, actors have mentioned even using the light props on set. I remember the guy who played Morpheus in the Matrix films. He uses a katana in the second Matrix film. He said that his arms were knackered using this prop because he hadn't trained with it, and he had to really work with it to get. And even then, he was still exhausting. I was just like, I think about that when I was like, man, try and do it with a fully weighted steel sword. Because, by the way, these ones, 1.4 kilos, which is on the it's medium, but yeah, it's not like the lighter type of longsword. So, all right, now let's dive into the video. Now, the first shot is something I'm happy with. I think it turned out all right.
It did. You're lucky you got this shot, to be honest.
Why?
Because I've needed shots like this for the Epic Adventure Quest movie.
Oh.
And every time I go out there, I keep forgetting. And this was at the end of the day, and I took like 3 frames and made it. So we're lucky we have this, to be honest. CGI is something that I'll touch on very quickly. I think it's better to do simple CGI really well, composite it well, rather than try and do something complex that looks like trash. That's just my opinion on it. A lot of this you'll see simple but well done CGI.
Yeah, you see the kind of dragon silhouettes flying in the background. So this castle backdrop, made with AI. It's such a brilliant tool. It wasn't just a type in prompt and get it out. I had to spend several hours to upscale it, get it the right angle, get the right lighting and everything like that. And this was off of a 4K image still of this angle, and then composited together. I think it looks great. Like, it's probably a bit too still for, but for, like, I've seen worse, in films where they had to use painted backdrops and stuff like that. Yeah. Matte paintings, right? This looks better than a matte painting.
It does, but it's the same sort of technique.
It is. Yeah. Still shot. All right, so the close-ups. The only thing I could really comment on this part is the helmet. I have that. We forgot to grab the right
We spoke about it in the morning, and I thought we agreed. I'm like, yeah, bring your helmet. And then when you got out there, I'm like, you don't have your helmet? Anyway, this was a helmet that I brought for a different shot entirely, but it suited my armor. It's fine, it works. Except the nose.
Yeah, there's just the nose is sticking out.
There's literally nothing we could have done about that.
Yep. All right, so this next shot. I wish I was told. Like,
I don't know what it is about people at Shadiversity. They have weird walks. This is a Nate problem as well.
It wouldn't have been a problem if I was told. Like, I can't see myself in armor, and so I was like, all right, I'm a warrior. I'm approaching a duel. So I thought walking with confidence would be appropriate, but I couldn't see if it looked decently to me.
It's like approaching Conor McGregor's walk.
I know, this looks good. I feel like I'm walking goofily here. I couldn't see it, and so I would have happily have changed.
The problem is, you did a first take, and then this is the second take. In the second take, you're like, I'm going to walk a little bit more like that. And when I looked at both takes, they're exactly the same. You didn't change anything.
So, if we look back, there's things we would like to improve. All right, so these are just the close-up shots. The knife. Does that look too large? I think it does. On close-up.
Yes, but I think it's perfectly fine because of the color grading.
Okay.
The original shots of this, it looks a lot more larvae.
Yeah. Just the nose.
It's just the nose.
It's just the nose.
See, So something I want to comment on here is a shot like this. I approach my cinematography in a very, if you pause it, I want it to look like a wallpaper.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm not going to criticize like people making their own stuff. If you're willing to go out there and do a sword, you have my respect, man. Go for it. That's awesome. But a lot of them, because they don't have experience with cameras and stuff, a lot of the shots are very flat.
Yeah.
And we have flat shots in here, and I'll show you them in a minute. But I think be a little bit more experimental with the camera. Get some different shots. A shot like this is a fantastic shot. You can even see the God rays I've added in. Things like that, like make dynamic shots.
And that does lift. Now, there are some things where limitation of budget and time where it's clearly, you know...
Sure, but something like camera angles are free. If you're out there filming, just be a little bit more dynamic with your camera.
Yeah. And look, that was a great stand that you had. When you have a still shot, make it look like it could be a wallpaper.
Yeah.
Great. Got the dragon in the background. I like this shot of yours there.
See, criticism it makes me so angry. My thing's upside down. And you can see the modern nut.
These are things that no one would notice, but now you point it out, they'll never unsee it.
I see them immediately. I see a lot of things. Like, there's a screw in your chair there from a shot. Like, there's stuff that annoys me.
I mean, that's a good shot.
That shot's fine. Yeah.
So, this is... I'm hesitant to point this out because once I point it out, people will never unsee it. But I guess that's the purpose of it, right? The trees. Do they just look too Australian? But
no. Our trees are very... This is something that I've only recently realised. A lot of nature looks the same around the world.
I mean, the thing that made me reassess gum trees in fantasy settings was when Kramer visited us, right? Yeah. And he actually mentioned that, no, a lot of the trees on the Shadlands look like Fangorn forests out of Lord of the Rings. They had this kind of gnarled growth pattern. And when I saw that, I was, it gave me a new appreciation. Like, I kind of see that.
For me, trees aren't an issue. For me, being out in nature's the issue because it's very fan filmy.
Yeah.
So
low budget.
To combat that, that's why there's such heavy color grading on something like this, to give it some sort of unique look. And that's why camera angles are so important. Because when people go out to do these sorts of projects, they're usually out in a forest, and it looks very...
And you know what Adaria did really good with their ones is they could go to real-world sets. They're in Europe, and so they could go to actual castle locations. Yeah. We've got none of that here.
None of that. We've got a forest. That's it. We've just got a little bit of forest.
Basically, we've got like no good castle, authentic anything.
Yeah. Like maybe at the top of a mountain.
I mean... my dream is to change that, to make some real castles, but I'm not sure I'll ever get to achieve it. So we got to work with what we have. Look, having said that, though, I'm a bit annoyed at how much I like that freaking sword of yours. You've copied it.
Don't you
He stole the crossguard design off of me.
That crossguard design is a Honshu one. We've got the sword over there. We both got it from the exact same place. Me and Shad do have, I hate to admit this, we have a very similar taste when it comes to swords. I have recently completed my sword project, and it is breathtaking.
It looks really good.
It's beautiful.
I'm pissed off because I want one. Bastard. Okay, I like that.
So simple VFX, just do it well.
Just a simple blur, which is a transition shot, then blur back in focus as you're walking there. So, again, should I point it out?
It's just a bit of continuity. People don't know. Yeah. It's okay with breaking angles when you're not in the fight scene. When you're in a fight scene, it's a bit different. There's different rules. But for cinematography stuff, it's fine.
The Shadlands is just beautiful. Look at that.
Yes. It is. Just make sure you get the right angles. Because there are some spots that are not the prettiest, obviously.
But the thing is, like, do you see the
the
chair in the background?
Chair in the background, yeah.
So, this is one of the things where I think just budget harms it a bit. It's like the banners, they look a little plasticky and stuff. But, you know, you got to do what you can with what you have.
Yes. This is I originally wanted them to be a lot taller because they are like 2 meter banners. Like they should be much higher. The problem is, first off, we needed to fit that into a car somehow, and on top of that, we didn't have enough like wood and resources to build giant ones. I think it's realistic is how I would put it. A bit more realistic and grounded.
And I mean, if we had a budget, what would kind of make this? It would be sold more to the audience. Everything if we had backdrop extras that were in proper kits, medieval clothing, and there was a crowd watching the fight. Yeah. Again,
I told you your throne will look good. I told you it'll look absolutely fine.
I mean, it's passable for me because it's not like I've seen thrones.
Yes, but it feels like a throne that they would take out to
Maybe.
for a king, but it's not like the golden throne. You know what I mean? Like it's just a throne that they would take for the king.
Though I will admit, the wind pushing out those banners looks good.
Yes, I did want a little like it's.
You wanted some flutter.
Yeah, I wanted some flutter, things like that. It's a double-edged sword though because the wind did cool us down somewhat.
Oh man, I was grateful for that wind. Because look at the sun, guys, and that's after the color grading, by the way.
This is before we started.
And we're wearing again. Not only did we use full weighted swords, this is thick gambeson, and Tyranth, the madman.
I didn't think you were going to bring it up.
is wearing the metal brigandine.
I'm wearing the full steel brig.
He's wearing full steel brig, so
it contours better.
It does. It looks good, but that is exhausting, man.
It wasn't that was getting me. It was just the sun cooking my face.
Yeah.
And halfway through the day, my hair just gave up, and it was in my. There were little. I didn't want to bring it up, but honestly, there were some exchanges where I was a bit worried about because hair was in my face, so I couldn't see anything.
So, one of the things that is also interesting, Brigandine looks great, but people also, when they watch it, don't realize that is a steel breastplate you're wearing, essentially.
Yes.
And it's under cloth. And if they are where Brigandine is steel, they have, I've fooled everyone who's seen my Brigandine, which is foam, made to be lighter. They have always thought, if they know what Brigandine is, they always think it's steel. Okay? Because it looks completely equivalent. I think while we watch this, people won't be able to tell the difference. Yours is steel and mine is foam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Still heavier. I'm wearing the pauldrons and my thick, gambeson underneath, and it's like a bloody vice.
Yeah, the weight isn't really the issue. It's just
the restriction of breathing because it's so tight.
It has no breathability, and because we're out in the Australian sun in summer, we're in summer now.
Yeah,
it is just ridiculous. This is not the environment for this sort of gear. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure, I can't confirm this, those S's that I used are from an actual historical book.
They might be, actually.
I believe.
All right, so small things, right? I don't know why I find my pose there just not very convincing, right?
What? The stance?
Yeah, my stance. I don't know. The way I'm standing there, I'm getting up. Maybe it's I'm being too nitpicky, but...
There was also a shot that I wanted to get in between this one where you, instead of just you standing straight up, it's back down to that low down pose, but you do a glance over to acknowledge that, but I literally forgot.
I was happy with this shot. Now, even though we don't have any speaking lines in this one...
Which is important. I feel like it's important. Fan films, sadly, are very let down when people speak. And I know that may sound a bit mean, but they're very difficult to do right. So,
I enjoy acting, okay? And I think I can pull it off sometimes, but then the other times my delivery is not realistic. And the way that you work through it is multiple takes, feedback, and focus on it, right?
Yes.
I'm not ready for this.
It's a gambeson, and it's squishy. There are some type of traps that you'll absorb much better than us.
You could go first.
I am not going first.
We didn't have the time to do that on the day.
No.
And so I'm actually kind of glad now that perhaps we didn't have the speaking lines because I wouldn't have been able to focus on it. Especially, I ended up being so exhausted from it because as soon as we start moving, my fatigue hits in and then my ability to focus on a convincing delivery is kind of shot.
I feel like an also important part is for this one, it's not required.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I did my other short film with Nate, which required voice lines. Mm-hmm. And I ran into a big issue when I got to the end and I did the voice lines and I was just like, I'm too close to this now. It's me. And I showed it to some people and because they know me, they're also like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I had to go through voice modulation, do all this stuff voice lines in fan films is just difficult because they're fan films.
So
this isn't a fan film because this is original work, but you know what I mean.
The thing is, I know both you and I can pull off convincing lines. And the proof is Epic Adventure Quest.
Is fantastic.
You were pretty handy with that whip.
Tyranth. I mean,
Yeah, you were.
I thought it was a kink thing, but I guess.
The person I bought it from may or may not have said that you can use it on witches and women alike.
Oh, okay. Some of the deliveries in Epic Adventure Quest surprise me as like, oh, that is as good as I've seen on TV.
But keep in mind, we're playing characters that are ourselves.
Yeah,
that's
there's
the
that
difference.
I mean, there's a lot of actors that just do that though.
I know.
Jack Black only plays himself.
But this, I mean, it is technically that as well, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
But
that's what I mean. Actors can still have a successul career when they're only playing themselves.
I just don't think it was required for this one. There's only like one voice line in this, and I actually have, I decided we didn't even need that one, which is Nathan's one. I felt like just having it very low was fine.
There are some expressions though that were important to feel convincing, and I think we did pull out, especially in the sword fights, because we're going properly. Those facial expressions of exertion, they're real. They're not pulling that.
They are. There's a couple of facial expressions that So how we would do this? I should wait until we get into it. But yeah, I'll talk about it.
So, but this is like, just needed a serious, expression looking. And it's like, all right, that's passable. Probably not
See
the
that
best.
screw there?
See that screw on the chair. Yep. So, if the acting is passable, it's probably not the best though, but
keep in mind we didn't do many takes for these. We only did like one.
I know, right? I'm trying to figure out why it still doesn't look like a Hollywood film. And is it the color grading?
It's not. No, the color grading is what's helping it.
Yeah.
It's the location.
It's
this weird thing whenever you see a forest, because we've seen it so much.
And you might be right. Like
as soon as you just see an open nature setting like this, your brain
it looks fake. Like if we were on a real life set, like when I say a real location in a castle.
If we had bluestone background here, like a castle wall or something,
it
would look perfect. It's just this is the thing that we contend with, is that there's not really a way for me to fix it. I've done my best. Camera work, try and nail that. Color grading, try and nail that. Add some props in. But even then, it's still a hard hill to get over.
And I would actually like to try and hear from feedback of someone who's never seen me before to see if that looks convincing or if it just feels like Shad's pretending to be serious. Right? And I can't really gauge that because I see myself too often. Because I see actors that purposely overact, like Jim Carrey does it and stuff like that, and yet they're able to pull it off.
But for this piece, this is not what would.
Yeah. But I'm not trying to overact. I'm just trying to.
See, stop that. Sorry, go back. Stop that. That's a wallpaper.
Yeah.
That
looks great.
That's the goal.
And look, good job on the crown. It's passing.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm proud of that one.
Close up,
that's an awesome crown.
Mm-hmm. I just think it looks too plastic. But that's budget limitations. Yeah. Because a banner that looked brocaded and sewn
would look 10 times better. 100%. Yeah. Keep in mind, I'm actually more impressed that because these cost $10.
Yeah.
They're like 10, 20 bucks to get that. Then I got some trim, and then I got a shade cloth to, because if we just had the banner as it was there, it would look like the fakest thing ever. I'm actually surprised they look at least this good because there's no light shining through everything.
Yeah. Your one looks better. And I think it's because it's got a texture on the armor print.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I thought you meant I'm like, that's just crinkled. That's not texture. Yeah. So Nathan's shoes, your shoes, my shoes.
Yeah, no, just ignore the shoes. So look, we have medieval shoes that we could have worn. I put them on and I was like, nah, this ain't happening. They have no heel support, no grip. And it's just like, that wasn't happening. Speaking of no grip.
For the last 2 years, I have worn my boots out on the Shadlands because when I first started going out to Shadlands, I was slipping all over the place because I was wearing those shoes.
Yeah.
So I wore those shoes. I'm like, oh, we need something a little bit that'll blend in. So I didn't wear my boots. And so I slipped over like 4 times during the day. Everybody else gets to wear good shoes except me. It's ridiculous. I also took a bet with Nate, like not a bet, like usually Nathan has 2 pairs of shoes. He has those boots and some other boots that look actually legit.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to wear the other ones. He didn't. So they stick out like a sore thumb. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yep. All right. So just for me, I feel this was too exaggerated and put on, but that's just performance thing. Like, to me, I'm like...
This was actually one of the hardest shots to get throughout the entire piece. And the reason why is because I'm there in front of camera. Nathan has to go through a complex set of instructions. And Marcus, my friend Marcus, is on the camera. And I need him to do a specific camera move in sync with everybody. So this was one where everybody's involved. And I can't control anything because I'm in the middle of the frame. Like, this was very difficult to get right, so I knew that this one was not going to be perfect. Draw the swords. Nathan needs to take them.
And I wonder if what's happening is being translated enough for people, you know? Because the concept here is that we can't trust that the other person's sword, we might have poisoned or something like that, and so we have to use swords that none of us have touched or prepared. And so that's the reason why the officiator is demanding we hand over our swords. And so we're like, fine, take it. The scabbard.
Yes. We don't have scabbards for those swords. And this whole sequence, y'all took too long. And I needed to shorten it by a lot much. So a cut-in shot like this is perfect, especially this, because the angle's great. Like,
oh, the water looks brilliant behind there. Gosh,
wallpaper shots.
I just love the Shadlands. It's so beautiful.
This is why I changed the location as well.
Yeah. I don't know about the sound.
That's real. That's the real sound.
Yeah, but
obviously, when you draw a sword,
yeah.
Swords don't sound like that. People don't know that. You know,
our audience does. I guarantee there's going to be someone in the comments who will say that this fake sound that you added there. They don't make that sound going out of the sheath.
Keep in mind, those are different sounds as well. One's a little bit higher pitched. One's a little bit more low. Things like that. Little details that are important.
I'm not sure about my flourish there now, but it's in it.
Nathan is fantastic. He's my friend. He helped us out. Like, he really helped us out.
Really did.
But I didn't want him to read the scroll like that. I wanted him to do like a Shrek Lord Farquaad type thing. Not like a, oh yeah, right. Like, nothing I can do about it. No.
All right, so there's a couple of minor edits that we're planning on adding on versus this one. Yeah. I'm happy with that stance there. So I actually had to choose this because that's not what I naturally would hold the sword. I naturally hold it on the other side, but then my back would be to the camera. And so this is me purposely reversing it to present it. And it looks good. I'm happy with that.
Getting back into shot composition a little bit, this is a flat shot.
Yeah.
I consider this to be a flat shot. And this is how a lot of fan films, people who do fight scenes, this is a flat shot. I don't have problems with flat shots, but the problem is if the whole fight is a flat shot. I also am not the biggest fan these days of one takes because I feel like you miss so much. And we'll get into that for the shot composition of this as an example.
I think a one take only works if you have a dynamic camera moving with it.
But even then,
and
you miss a lot of the emotions and there's no stakes.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of just non-stop action. And a philosophy that I personally enjoy with fight scenes is you have your wide shot, you have your cut-in shot, and then you have your slow-mo shot. Some people don't like slow-mo shots. Some people just prefer the full fight scene. I personally like it because I feel like it emphasizes like a really cool move.
There's a slow-mo shot in this that I think is just chef's kiss.
Yeah. So different philosophies here.
So we just wanted a quick beginning exchange where we're just testing each other out. And so that's what these moves are.
We've made a video on like sword fight rules and we followed most of them.
That's what I kind of really am happy with this because in this we are putting our money where our mouths have been. We've been saying, look, sword fights need to be done this way or this way. You can do certain shots that look like they're lethal and you have to judge otherwise a strike, and you can do it by aiming certain ways and stuff like that. So you're about to see all of that put into action. And I feel put into practice really effectively, and you're going to get to see it. So that was so thrust that looks on point, right? Even though you're not actually aiming for my head, but because of the angle,
it's off center.
It's off center, and so I'm then pushing it up out of the way, and then reassess, reset. And so I don't like facing away from the camera. I look like a turtle.
This is just a problem with the fight. Okay, so the problem is because you have a 180 line with a fight scene, you don't want to go over the other side, meaning, so the camera's facing us this way, you don't want to go over this side and face that way because you remember the Game of Thrones fight scene? The Brienne versus
my gosh.
You get that. You get whiplash. It's hard to follow. So staying on this side of us is what you have to do, which means sadly at some point somebody's going to be facing a bit of a weird way.
All right, these close-ups, I think are actually brilliant. I was very happy with how they turned out. That doesn't look like I'm faking. So people might not realize the speed ramp that we added here. And so from here to there is like a 50% speed ramp, and it just to me adds explosive speed, and it jumps out of the gate into the bang, bang, bang.
As somebody who deals with footage and frame rates at all time, I see these instantly, so my version doesn't have any of them.
Really? You've kept them out?
Yeah.
Oh, so that we do have different versions.
Our versions are very different.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like the main fight scene is the same, and we obviously have two different outros, but in terms of like how everything starts, like it's just different.
Okay, cool.
They're different versions.
Love it. So you see it coming in, you lean back, and it looks like it was in measure and you had to dodge. Like, see that right there? That's the type of thing. If I was doing a fight scene autopsy and I saw that, I'll be like, friggin' yes, that's how it should be done. And the thing is, though, I think you were out of measure the whole time. At no point was Tyranth in danger of getting hit. It's because we're using the correct camera angle to sell it, that this looks like he has to dodge or that sword is hitting him. Look, it literally passes in front of him. And so it's a matter of understanding camera angle and then the distance of the sword and what the audience is gonna see.
Well, like I said before, something I wanted to touch on with camera angles and dynamic shot. First off, this is a dynamic shot. Second of all, in a fight scene, there are 3 participants. There's the 2 combatants and the cameraman. The cameraman is also a participant, meaning you need... So while we're figuring stuff out, Nathan is also figuring out where he's going to go as well. That is the best way to do this, to capture the most amount of footage. And that's why flat shots, I feel like, just really not the way to go with it.
And so then we reset. Pose. Again, I'm actually quite happy with that in terms of the expression. That looks convincing.
Now, Shad is a little bit different when it comes to continuity. Personally, I'm okay with some small little errors because in motion you can't see them. Shad is not. He just wants, I want every single thing to match.
No.
Like,
I noticed the continuity errors that I haven't commented on because I thought they worked fine. It's only ones where it was too much of a slap.
Like the crossguard one. I kept that in my version.
You've kept that?
Because it's fine.
I wonder if I'm interested to see what
Our
people
crossguards
say.
are on the different side, but it's so quick, and then we cut to the scene, and then we're back here. You don't notice.
Because there's a couple ones that we point out, and it shouldn't break your enjoyment of the fight where we point out the continuity differences in the jump because it looks quite like it's flowing consistently.
I should have held that blade backwards. I was a bit too flat with it. I should have been
that's
more
not bad.
loaded with it.
And so this looks like you aiming for head, then I stop it and push it to the side before you're able to complete the strike, and then the cross, and then throwing the sword to the side, which was, winding and binding, and then hitting down. And so then this transitions into several reverse down edge cuts. I love that sequence.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang.
Something that I both love and hate about this is there's a lot of up high shots, head shots, which in a normal fight I don't like. But for the context, we're wearing armor, and where are the points that you're actually going to aim is the head or the hands, which is something we didn't do, which I'm not happy with. But like there's context there, so I'm okay with some of those things.
Yeah.
More than usual, at least. Because in this, I wanted to make a point, especially for the only moment, is armor works.
Oh, it does. Like, I am happy with this because, like I said, if I was doing a fight scene autopsy, this is the stuff I would be reacting to and complimenting if someone else did it, right? This strike looks like it's aimed for you, and you have to look. It is in measure. That would be. I'm not so far out that if my sword went down, I would miss. We're close enough that no, that sword is going to be hitting the opponent, and it's only because one, we are proficient and have great control over the blades. Then 2, we trust each other. Okay, and 3, the camera angle. I'm actually not aiming for Tyranth's head here. I'm aiming for the shoulder. I don't know if it hits the pauldron. It's fine. Or even a bit out. So missing him completely, but the angle sells it perfectly. And so this is why...
Also, I'm catching it high.
You're catching it
Because if I caught it a bit lower, it would look a bit faker. But because I'm catching it so high, it means that I can also be high.
Exactly. And you're knocking it aside, which sells it completely. And so this was how we were able to do the whole fight scene with fully weighted steel swords and not injure, because rarely were we ever actually aiming for the head.
I don't recommend that as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really don't recommend it. It's not the best. The only reason why we did it is because we literally just didn't have enough.
We would have preferred aluminium.
Yeah, we tried to get them, couldn't get them. That is what it is.
And so knock aside, and this is me just coming in and hitting it aside and getting distance. Good posing at the end. Everything so far has been choreographed and planned out. Every single sequence we're doing intentionally, and that was just like a sub-side. Now, we filmed this out of continuity, but you've spliced them in perfectly.
All these
close-ups.
cut-in shots do right at the start, front load them.
And so, reversing my stance there, this is one of my favorite sequences. There's a couple that I just really love, but this one turned out friggin' great. That shot there, this is the slow-mo shot that I was mentioning that I just think looked friggin' great.
This is why I like slow-mo in my fight scene. Like I said, some people don't like them, and it's actually a lot harder to find slow-mo in fight scenes, especially made by, I'm just going to call them fans for the context of this. They don't really use slow-mo too much. I like it, though.
I mean, the combination with the sound effect that you have here emphasizes the strike. So listen. Vroom. I mean, it shows like that was a near deadly strike. And the other thing that sells it is the choreography. Like, we actually had to practice this a couple of times to make sure we're getting the distance right. And a shot like this can be dangerous because...
Oh, this is 100% realistic. This is a very common shot if you've ever sparred with anybody. A deflect into a
reverse edge, right?
Very common.
And so, to make sure this looked good, I needed to be in measure, which means close enough for Tyranth to be able to hit me, and therefore I had to genuinely dodge it to miss the strike. The way that you do it safely is that he's actually aiming for my shoulder. And so if I miss the dodge, it's going to hit my pauldron, I'll be fine. And we know that these swords, these are trainers. And so on the top end, very low mass, and so it's not going to injure me.
Well, like we said, I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, a lot of fight scenes have a lot of chops, because chops are, relatively speaking, are safe. Thrusts are very dangerous. Even if you're just messing around. Thrust with this, if I hit you, especially in the neck, maybe the eye or something,
really dangerous.
It's a really big problem. Even with these trainer ones, they are still, you need like rubber tips on them.
Yeah, you could kill someone with a thrust to the neck or the eye with this.
Which is why you don't see much thrusts in a lot of fan stuff, just because it's actually just dangerous to do in regular combat.
We have thrust. There's a thrust sequence in this that, again, is one of my favorite ones. I'll mention when we come to it, because it's so we pull it off, right? And so there's a third component to this, all right? Again, trust, being provision of the swords, being in measure, and then tricking kind of the angle, and then it's the camera. The position of the camera works perfectly here, because that looks like it's going for my head, even though Tyranth is actually... that's going to hit my shoulder if it lands, but it looks like it's coming straight down for my head. I dodge it, and it just misses my head right here, and then sails down. It's one of the sexiest sequences.
Don't say it like that, but sure.
It is. This freaking looks great. And you timed it brilliantly with the shot transition.
So the only thing that I would change about something like this is more on my side, is a technical thing. Something that I don't like about jumping shots. It's like, we're still on the 180 line, so technically this is all still fine. You can follow it. But I want the center of the action. So right in the center. For the next frame, I want it still to be in the center. So then you don't have to search around for it. That's like a very advanced technique when it comes to fighting. This one is a little bit jumpy, which that's a me thing. I'm going to notice that.
You're going to notice something right here, which shows that we're not holding back in some of these. Look at the deflection of the sword. That's a weighted hit that makes, and this is steel, and that's flexing from the impact, right?
Like, the only thing that I would have about this is I wish, instead of being so flat with it, I was a little bit more angled, to catch it a little bit more. But
But that right there is looking
That
great.
is in measure. Like,
Yeah,
you can
that
see
is
it's in
like,
measure.
look, that would hit me, right? Because you can see where I'm leaning forward first, and then where I start to lean back to just miss it, and then the cut. But even here, that literally right there is the point. That would have hit me if I wasn't leaning back already.
Also, I brought that down
Yes.
rather than bringing it
Yes.
in
Again,
for safety
shows the safety,
purposes.
but people will not actually see because the speed of this and what sells it is the replay in slow motion, which really makes it that man.
Which, this is why I like slow-mo, because if you don't have this, it's just an instant next to the next thing. And I like to focus on those.
Like I said, I
moments.
think it's the contender for my favorite sequence in the fight scene.
Oh, okay. I thought you said it's a contender of my favorite fight scene. I'm like, that's just because you're in it, Chad.
No. Though I think this looks pretty good. There's a lot of Hollywood slop. I'm not saying it's the best by any means, but this is better than a lot of Hollywood slop.
Because we haven't put out the video yet, we don't know what people's reactions
Yeah,
is.
people. That's all crap.
Yeah.
Good close up. This, like the shaky cam there, actually worked well.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Because this is captured in camera. This is not Nathan putting shaky camera in. This is him literally holding a 5-pound camera on the day for a long time. So there is just natural shaky cam. And there were some sequences here where we got some good stuff, but Nathan did too much. And I spoke to him about it. I'm like, all right, that shot was fantastic, Nathan. And before I even get out the words, he goes, too much shaky cam. And I'm like, yeah. So we'd have to do it again.
The rust on my pauldrons actually adds to make it
Realism.
looks even better, and it's real rust, authentic. Okay. So there's a couple of things to comment on this. We're going back. All right, so it started off, I think, maybe a little slow, but the cross, what I think really worked is that one right there, the underarm strike. Mix it up quite well.
Yes. It looks fine on camera, but...
It looks great going straight up with it like that, and look fully in measure.
Because it was.
Looks, I know.
These
Again,
were all in measure.
again,
These are fine, yeah.
this is actual like difficult stuff to pull off safely, and again, it's like
The reason why I think this one works and I'm okay with it is because this would be, I would consider this a hand shot. So there's 2 headshots, and then you go for a hand shot. So I think that works.
And what's also interesting is like it reminds me of my reviews of the Acolyte fight scenes where they were so far apart and they were just aiming for each other's swords. Where in comparison to this, like he's a draw your sword up, go low, go high. Like look at that, man, that looks good.
I want everybody, we're going to get to it a bit later, but keep this sequence in mind because I reused some footage from
You
another
do.
shot, which is important because this is a very flat shot, like I said.
So this what I find impressive, this is where Tyranth does break one of the continuity moments in the fight, and then he has spliced in one of the improvised freeform sequences we did.
Yeah.
And I was actually shocked at how well it looked, honestly. I like right there. This is now the freeform sparring.
Yes. I think what sells it is just more your reaction. Because we're actually sparring.
I'm exaggerating my reaction.
Like it's stage performance more than sparring. Like I'm not trying to hit him. I'm not trying to get him. We'd be acting very differently if that's the case. But we are aiming for like large target zones. So it can look realistic because there's a lot of movement.
Well, we could only pull this off again because we've trained with the swords. And so when I see we're purposely exaggerating our movements, not too much because we want to sell it to the camera, but by Tyranth exaggerating a bit more, he's telegraphing which angle that sword is coming in, and so I can go and block. And so rarely do you have in sparring a sequence where it's hit, block, like in such a successive amount. But because we're purposely telegraphing, we can pull it off in an exaggerated way. And so there are a number of clashes here that just end up selling bang, down, up, side. That is all improvised, and it looks 100%.
Looks fine, yeah.
And then, of course, I'm putting on the expression that I'm on the back foot and you're pressing me, and I'm going by and then you've cut back to a close angle of the same one. And that transition, I mean, it looked fine.
Yeah. Because it's a very conscious decision to make sure scenes match where we're leaving our swords in last night. It's very difficult, but it works a lot better.
It worked great. This shot here. Look at how close we come to our hands.
Because we actually were close to
You're like, that is... But again, it's about trusting the person you're doing this with, and proficiency as well. Like, no. Look at that. That is...
And you got to remember, this is all sound design. Slow-mo on our cameras don't capture audio. So everything, this whole thing is basically sound design. A couple of the sound effects, like maybe some screams or some of the bass sword clashes I've kept. Yeah. But if I showed you just like the raw audio, all you hear is wind. So sound design is very important as well to sell stuff.
Look at how measured that is. That is like, there's nothing to try and fool it because it is actually... If that block didn't hit, look at how close it is to my hands. If I don't block, it's going to hit me in the head and stuff like that. And like, I don't think a lot of Hollywood productions have the balls to do this because they'd be too afraid of injury.
Yeah, because you don't just give actors swords and go swing at each other.
But as a result, that's why I look at this and I'm really pleased with the results because it's turned out better than I expected when I see stuff like this, because this is the kind of thing where I feel has been missing from Hollywood productions, where you see stuff that's like, it's 100% real, because look at how...
You're a lot more excited than I am. Like, I'm sorry if I don't seem excited. It's just You're more critical.
I
wanted extra things.
The thing is, though,
and we're about to get into one of the problems that I had.
Okay, because I'm comparing this to all the fight scene slop I've reviewed on this channel for years.
Sure, that's fair. Like, comparing this to
that,
Last Jedi or something. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And when we have a shot like that was made with speed, intention, and like... Because my pet peeve in so many of the fight scenes is like, it looks like you're aiming for the air or aiming for the sword. And then we have a shot like that where it's like, oh, damn. We do
have one shot that I'm not happy with in terms of our aiming. Mm-hmm. I think when you slow it down, it's not as bad, but in motion, I'm not happy with. I think it's the next one. Actually.
Catching this in slow-mo was great as well. And then back to the speed. Oh, like that sequence. That's great. The speed and intention there. Bang, bang, bang. And then
this sequence here. We start off fine. I don't have too much issue. Because when we did this with lightsabers, this one here is taken from like the Star Wars Episode 3 thing. And
we call it the helicopter exchange. Bang, bang, bang.
It's very nice, but it's very similar. It's repeating moves. Mm-hmm. I think with lightsabers, because they're lightsabers, we're a lot more tight with them. They're a lot more flat. With this one, we're a little bit more higher up.
I'm okay. I think we'd push it to the limit anymore. I would then start to say, okay, maybe too much. But I think we do manage to sell it. Because
the start here I'm fine with.
1, 2, 3.
Fine. Then you go into thrusts.
This one is one I wanted to comment on the thrusting side. Because look where you are at the beginning of my thrust. You have to move back or that's going to hit you. And it looks like it's aimed for your head and you have to block it. At no point was I actually thrusting towards Tyranth's face. I'm offside. But because of the angle of the camera, they don't see that perspective. Yeah. And so this looks like it is aimed at your head and you have to block it. And it's, again, a combination of those three things. 1, proficiency in his sword. 2, trust. Okay. And so Tyranth is trusting that I'm aiming off center, so he's not threatened. And 3, angle of the camera to sell it completely.
Yeah.
And then bang, and then again, look, like this is so quick that people miss, but this comes in with another, damn, sorry, look at my face there. I'm ready to kill you, man. I'm like, you're freaking dead. And then coming in for a thrust, and you have to, like, it's so quick people miss it, but that is a whoosh. And we nailed the timing here. Yeah. Okay? The timing and measure speed.
Okay, so this exchange here is what I'm less happy with. Because the original plan was we go back into a couple of helicopters and then I go for a throw and you catch me underneath. The problem was we stammer a bit, is all.
Really? Because it's the stammer that sells it for me. Because the stammer to me is the feint where, you go high, go, and then bang.
But I think that feint doesn't look like a feint. I think it looks like a mistake.
Oh, see, to me it looks like a feint.
Let us know in the comments.
Mm-hmm. So this one, there's a purpose to this where basically you're trying to fluster your opponent. So I've done this in sparring where you do a fast repetition of the same strike. Bang, 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 where you just want to push them back. And so even if... even if they're not a measure, but no, a lot of these are a measure that Tyranth has to move back. And by the way, the movement of the camera following us... compliments to Nathan, dude. This looks so good. See, that is a feint.
See, because we were just a bit slow. Like, all right, let's go frame by frame. Go frame by frame.
See, going high to try and draw your sword up. You bring your sword up in response, and then I'm ducking underneath. And
I think it's because there was no active motion of you pushing my blade up. I think if we had a little bit, because it feels like we both just went up.
But there is a motion here. The swords connect right there, and I'm pushing the blade up.
Your sword is on top of mine. How can you push
No,
mine
it's
up?
underneath. It's underneath.
You sure?
Yep. Pretty sure. See, look.
That's over the
See,
top.
it's underneath at the moment, and at no point does it get to cross to be on top.
No, my blade's underneath yours.
No?
This is your blade here. Look, you can see there. Mine's behind yours.
Yeah. And so as they go up, now mine is underneath yours as it's high.
See, I shouldn't have gone. There's no reason for me to go up. At that position, I can bend in and get you.
Okay, no. To me, I reckon there is. You were just trying to push my sword off point. Because I was feinting to go for your head. And so going for your head, your defense is to push it up so it's not, you're protecting your head. And then because I've drawn you up, I go low. I think, I don't see what you're saying. I think...
For me, let us know in the comments. For me, that little sequence at the end there, it just feels like we both went up on cue.
I don't think that. Yeah,
and see, these ones there are a bit high, like we said.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some
good
of them.
shot of the slow-mo there.
This one's right on the line of that 180. Whoa,
I think it works.
It's right on the line. It works because it's a cut in slow-mo, but it's right on the line.
Look at that expression.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So the only thing that I would think here is that my character should be aware there's no way I got through the armor at that point with that strike.
Sure.
You should be.
I don't want to get into your character stuff there.
I should know that.
But this is an important moment. So moments make fight scenes to me personally. When I think back to some of my most favorite fight scenes, maybe like the Achilles versus Hector, which funnily enough, this has a lot in common, which was subconscious, not on purpose. Things like when he does his jump attacks or when he, he's got the spear, he does the spin, things like that in moments that I love in fight scenes. I wanted more moments in this one. We only got time to do one. And this is the moment.
It's a good moment. So what this would do for my character is like, I landed a solid hit that kind of shows your vulnerability. Even though it hit the armor, it's like, I still got through your sword. I still got past your sword.
The thing is, for my character, Shad, why would I defend a shot that I don't need to defend? It's to the breastplate. You're not getting through, so there's no point.
I think it passes. I can be critical of my expressions at times. I think that one worked. And yours is good?
Keep in mind, I also had to cut things short because your expressions kept going.
Yeah,
so it was very slow.
So
do
you reckon people will notice that that's a different sword?
No.
See, I don't think many would catch it.
I made sure this detail was very important. I wanted to use a sharp for this shot because it was going to be specifically a close shot. The sword is close enough that it looks similar to that, especially on
So I'm interested to wonder how many people think it's too obvious that this is a blunt, especially with the tip.
A lot of shots you can't notice, but there are certain shots where you see the tip. There's literally nothing about that.
Well, what would happen is if this was like if we had a lot higher budget, this would be foam but stiff, and then it would look like it has a tip.
Or just use aluminum.
Aluminum and tips could be dangerous.
They can.
But this is like something that I have criticized in high budget films. Close up shots, they didn't freaking Rings of Power, and it's the foam sword on a close up shot.
Right.
You did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's a shot of the king close up, and his sword is right there, and it's a shot, and it's the foam one, and it's not even in the sheath properly.
Yeah.
It's like amateur hour stuff, and so on a close up shot, something I said was like, just use a real sword.
Yeah.
Right. And so it looks great.
This shot here is an important one because this one we actually took a little while to get right because I know you didn't want me to get too close, but it was so important to get that close.
Yeah, and this is a time when we do a flourish, but it's perfectly consistent as to why. Like, I need to knock it aside, but now my sword is off point, so I've got to move it back into guard, and I spin it around into guard.
That was not, planned. I feel like that's the best way to describe it. I knew that he was going to hit me, so I'm like, I need to control the weight, I'll bring it back around. And we both kind of just did the same thing.
I love it, man.
Well, it also goes to a bit of a thematic thing.
Look at how well timed that is. It's synchronized between the both of us. Both swords coming in, look at this. Spinning down. It's perfectly synchronized, dude. How did we pull that off?
Well, something I do want to mention, I'm going to sound a bit like an English teacher right now, is thematics throughout the course of the film. You are light, I am dark. I am wearing pointy, you are rounded. We are very much black and white mirroring each other throughout. That is a theme of this. I know I sound like an English teacher back in school, but
the themes.
This is actually
of the narrative.
It's actually a theme of it, yeah.
This is actually surprising. I didn't even notice we timed the synchronized flourish. Like, look at this, both coming down. That looks gorgeous, dude.
Yeah, that is a good shot.
All right, so
what's important to note is what comes right after. Like the same. This is one shot.
Okay, contender. This is the second contender for my favorite sequence now. Okay, it's that flourish and the lean back slow mo dodge. I want to know what you guys think is the winner. We might need to do a poll. So now, right here, this is freeform. We are improvising at this point. I mean, and it's actually surprisingly solid, where I need to get your sword off point, you need to get mine off point, blocking there.
But see, context is why this works. Because there's the hands, we've been over this, but the only actual real available region right now is the head. So we can fight a little bit higher than I would personally want.
I think in lots of sparring it ends high.
But our blades are too high up like this when they should be a lot more on point.
I don't know. See, look, that's on point, but I'm knocking it up, coming down. See, that was perfect. Like, look at these ones coming in, right? Recovery. They're coming side. And yeah, that was like you're going for my head there. Push it aside again. And so...
See how I'm trying to catch your blade low? Because we were too high. I was trying to catch that blade down.
And then good cut to a recovery. So
do you notice that shot?
Yeah, I do notice. Okay, so there's once again, I'll point it out, and then everyone will never not see it again.
Well, just before we do, we shot all of the cut-in shots at the start of the day, and that's it.
So holding this in the wrong hand,
it's a mirrored shot.
You've mirrored it, yeah. And so that's it. This is in my left hand.
Because we're on the opposite side.
So we actually filmed that on the opposite side, and so Tyranth has mirrored it. It still looks good. You can barely notice it, but
it's also cropped in as well because your flag was in the background.
Yeah. So back to this is choreographed and planned
because we need to get back to
back to the position, the side that we're on. So
I don't know about
this one. Is like starting to edge on. All right, maybe we've overdone that helicopter hit. Maybe that was a little. We've done it too much at this one. So it's again bang bang, but we don't dwell on it a lot. It's just a quick 1-2 into a bind, and it's a dynamic bind where we're both pushing to get leverage. So this is where in Tyranth's version you'll see a close up of the bind on that one. And for me, that was too much of a continuity.
It was a beautiful shot. It's sick as. We're like in a bind and the lake's in the background.
I think it worked in the cut I showed where you put it on this side, but you put the bind here when we're on one side, and then it shows us on.
I think the bind starts right as we're about to go down, so it like cuts in. It's very quick, and you will not notice it.
I wonder. We'll see. So it pushes me off out of the bind. So this one is interesting because, like, from this position, is there stuff you could do to try and get your opponent? Like, could Tyranth quickly spin his sword and hit me in the head, right?
Yeah.
In moments like this, it's in the heat of the moment. And sometimes when you get in a bind, I've done this in real sparring, actually, where you can't slow down and think, what is the best option to do? You just have to try and push back and look for leverage where you can get it. Which is why I'm a bit more forgiving on this one, because I've experienced in real sparring where you do lock up and you don't think of the best move to do in that situation. You're just trying to push it back. Which is why I'm also forgiving on the ending grapple as well.
Right.
So this is one of the earlier sequences that you've now cut later on, which are from a different angle, because we filmed multiple takes of the same one, same sequence sometimes, and I think this worked brilliantly. They did this in one of the fight scenes I've praised a lot, Anakin versus Obi-Wan. Their helicopter thing, they use the same... they actually filmed that with multiple cameras, because I've looked at it very closely. Their movements, it's actually the exact same movement. This isn't like a second take of the same sequence. This is the same sequence they filmed from two different angles, and then they've spliced in that exact same one later on. Yeah. And it worked. It worked fine.
The reason why I did it, this one is a little, it's on the line of iffy just because I went back through the footage and I was trying to just cobble something else together because, like I said, I wanted more, and I wanted more sword play. I wanted more moments. We didn't have any of that, so I'm like, all right, I'll just
reuse some stuff,
see what I've got, and this kind of came together. I was like, oh,
it works, because you can't really tell, like, because this is where I went low to hit, and the first one was a wide side angle, and so because this is from behind, it looks quite different, even though it's the exact same set of moves. And then you cut it quickly to a different one, which is a close-up shot of, by the way, what I love about this one, this could be another contender, how fast the strikes are. Look how fast, like, bang, 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 bang. See, there was a quick bang, bang.
This one here, this is that is a legit shot where I was going to get shot. And so that was why I wanted to so I cut it early. See how it's on the other side of the crossguard?
Yep.
That was when I pulled the shot.
Mm-hmm.
And
then, again, trust Tyranth knew to pull it because he could see that. But also, I'm trying to block it. And so this is me moving back, and I do end up pushing it off my knuckles, which just saves it, basically. Yeah. So,
but it's because I didn't bring it down.
Yeah, exactly.
I stopped right there. It's funny. I saw it go behind the crossguard. I'm like, all right, I got to stop.
Both of us see what's going on, and we're both responding in the correct way to save my knuckles here, right? Again, trust and proficiency to be able to pull that off.
And that's why I just cut in straight to a slow-mo shot of kind of...
and look, it like our swords are close enough that you can kind of believe that they moved into that position. Yeah. And so that you sell it.
And because it's not full slow-mo, it's like a quick little slow-mo, just to emphasize that punch in, I think it works.
I love it. And then back to a reset. So my only thing here, right, because this was filmed at the beginning, it's not showing how exhausted I reckon at this point, like the sweaty.
That's the point,
yeah, it would have looked even better. And then freeform, this is. Yeah.
This was so stupid. Because we were on the right side, we then switched back, and then we needed to switch back again. So this is why this one is a bit less refined.
Exactly. It was like getting back, and then it's a good cut though to.
Like you can even see us talking about it in the scene. Yeah. There's a shot of Shad saying, "We need to get back."
Yeah. Is this where I say this?
And that's why my stance isn't very good. I'm kind of like hobbling a little bit.
But the fact we can improvise it to get what we need to, that works.
Like I'll do 2 shots and kind of like jump over. It works.
Good job with the sound again, emphasizing. All right, so this is where we come to the finisher. We tried to brainstorm a couple of different finishing moves. We wanted it to be something. I wanted it to be something a bit more complex and sophisticated in terms of the technique.
Yeah, you want to talk about it? Because it was the stupidest thing I've ever heard, man.
Which one?
Let me throw the sword up and catch it and stab
That would be badass! If I could pull it off, that would have looked friggin' wicked!
That is mole ninja cringe stuff.
No.
You know your walk at the start? That's that.
No. If we pulled it off, that could look friggin' amazing.
It really would.
Like, if I needed to knock your sword aside and I had to push it so far that I needed to spin to recover, and then in the spin, I flip it up and then caught the blade and stab down.
What do you think of the comments? I genuinely want to hear your thoughts.
It could have looked, but the thing is, though, it would have taken too many tries to capture. It's like, all right, we can't do that. And so, how did we end up coming to this one? Because I think we ended up just, let's try freeform and find
let's do a grapple. Because first we thought of, what if we do some grapples with the blade to take the blade away? But then we're like, well, what if we just try and get him the gaps of the armor?
Yeah.
It's like, well, why not just come up and get a shot through the head?
And it ended up working well. And then I was like, all right, if we get it from this angle, we can make it look like it's a lethal shot. And so Tyranth comes in for a thrust. Again, this looks like it's aimed for my head. I have to block it. And so I push it.
Well, there's a little bit of sneaky stuff in there because when I would go for a thrust, I could change at the last moment and actually bring it in, which is what it looks like I'm doing, which is what I'm not. I'm bringing it around off his center line,
yes.
But from this camera angle, it looks like I'm bringing it into his face.
I mean, what I love is that this is one of the things that we've mentioned multiple times in our criticisms, right? And now we have done this, 3 to 4 times that I feel is an expert demonstration of exactly what we mean, where we say you can make a thrust or an attack look like it's got lethal intent, but you're actually aiming away from your opponent, and so long as you have the camera angle correct, it'll look like it's in measure and deadly. Like, look at this. This is perfect, right? And so what I do then, I push in for a grapple. Okay, no, this is actually working. It's down on the strong of my blade, so I have the leverage. So I'm higher on your blade. I was about to criticize, like, no, even one-handed, if you're on the strong and I'm on towards your weak, I could leverage it down.
Yeah, like, I think this is all right. It works in motion, but if it was real, obviously, I think you'd be a lot more non-compliant.
Yes.
It's a little bit compliant.
You're right. The reason why I give it a pass, right, because it comes in, even in slow-mo, this is showing that I'm lunging in quickly, and your character doesn't yet know what I'm trying to do. And so this happens in real fighting. When you lunge in with a sequence in your mind of an attack, your opponent doesn't know what you're going to do yet, and so they can only respond after they see it, and that can cause them to hesitate.
Sure, but in a grapple like this, I'm holding my blade, which is what, like, your blade here is up against my knuckles. So, like, it's up against my hand. You could do some stuff there. I wouldn't be so compliant about it.
The only way I think you get out of a grapple like this is that you need to release the sword and pull out.
In this sort of situation, I would take a step behind your leg and pull you back.
Yeah, but again, I think that's knowing after the fact. In an actual intense fight, I could see this going down to trying to push back with leverage. Because it's an instinctive response, which is why I'm more forgiving of it. Now, this one, we're actually going to cut right, like in the official release, that's going to cut here because I miss the grab. But in the cut, it's going to look like at that moment is when I grab the sword, because then we're going to be cutting forward
a little bit faster
to where I grab it here, right there. And so this is a really interesting grapple, okay? Because you can't pull your sword. If you keep your hold of your sword, you can't pull it out because you hit my arm. And my arm is actually holding it in. And so the only way you could pull your sword out is by releasing your grip and getting out.
Yes, but I am positioned directly. My leg is directly behind yours. All I need to do is let go of one of my hands and pull you straight back. And I'll go. Like, this is like breaking it down.
But to me, this is believable.
It's perfectly believable. Yeah.
And this is actually ends up being a complex shuffle where you're showing that you're trying, because one of the things that you do train in swordsmanship is don't let go of your sword. You don't want to be disarmed. And so I can see a real swordsman, right, in this position, just instinctually, don't let go of the sword, find leverage, get back, push, even though the way to get out of this grapple is to let go.
There's a couple of things here, because, like, I could let go one hand, or at least angle my blade and do a slice on the inside of your thigh. There's an artery there. Things like this is all after the fact. In motion, I think it's fine.
And I think it's so because I'm leveraging down. And look, what's good about this, the sword does end up coming up and my armor protects me. So you wouldn't be able to hit me there. And I'm leveraging down to get the sword up through and then through your neck. Like, that's the thing I'm going for. Again.
See, now this breaks the 180 line, but it's like right at the end. It's the last shot. It's a bit slower. I think it's fine.
I think it works fine, especially because we don't have the budget to do, like, visual effects to show the sword going through or decapitation.
This is one of those ones where we definitely need the camera angle, but the camera angle required for this.
Something happens that I was not expecting, and it sells it completely. Your hair gets pushed aside by the blade, or is it your angle of flinging back? Because that makes it look like the blade has gone through your head. I was not expecting that to. And Nathan is getting the angle perfectly, because I was like, we were saying you need to show that I'm pulling it through the arms from above, and then you need to move back low. I can't believe how well we managed to get that shot.
Yeah.
And then... Okay, that's... Am I up to 3 favorites now?
I don't know.
That's it.
I don't know.
That is the last... This one right there. The fact that we got the camera angle, the hair, to make it look like the blade went through, that's the 3rd contender for my favorite sequence. And so the first one was the slow-mo at the chest. The second one, it was one of the speed ones. And then this one, I can't remember if there was another one.
I tried. If we had just gotten an extra shot, I could have included the grapple in my version as like an extra fight bit, but we just needed an extra shot of me getting out of the grapple. So I couldn't use it, but yeah.
So what I love about this is that it's a more complex, sophisticated finisher where we come in, the finish release, you cut, grab, and then half sword, stab through. So I was worried the timing would be off. The fact that you put in a close-up of the blade, that slowed it down.
They're very important.
Yeah. That slowed it down enough to make it give it's like, all right, the fight's over.
Some of these shots, like this shot I got last week, I didn't get on the day because there was some stuff that I wasn't happy with, some B-roll I wasn't happy with, so I went back and made sure to get some shots set up. Like this one is an important cut-in to slow down that scene because it just goes like that. It's too quick.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm impressed that works like that.
I told you the blood will look fine.
On the blade it does, not on the hands. He wanted a close-up of blood on the hands that looked cheap and fake.
That's fine.
And but real sharp sword for the close-up. Looks great. So there was a number of times I tried to stab it into the ground.
Yeah, I've got him in my behind-the-scenes video. There's a funny-ass one. Because I'm in the ground, like nearly passed out. I'm just sleeping. I'm sitting there I'm rambling to Nathan. We don't have the audio, but there was audio of me just like rambling Nathan, like, what's he doing? Is he done? Hurry up.
I wanted it to just stab in the ground and stand.
My favorite is when you throw it in and it starts
flopping around.
Starts slapping the chair.
It's like, we just couldn't get it. It'll take too long. So I was like, screw it, I'm throwing it further away this time. I was worried that I was too knackered to at least have a passable expression. Is there a couple of bad shots?
No, it's more that if this shot keeps going,
Yeah.
I don't think it's good. I don't know what that smile you pulled was, but the longer that smile goes, not this one. This is fine.
This one.
When you start to smile, I cut it.
Because I was so tired, I was like, I think this is not good.
Let's see if I keep that
fade
going.
out worked well, just right there. That's like you saved it there. That's what a good director is able to do.
And this is hard to see on this one, but
yeah. I'm not sure about it.
Not sure.
It looks a little fake, the light.
Because this is a day to night shot. Yeah. One of the most hard shots to pull off. But because I wanted this shot as the final shot, I felt like it's a good transition. Have the castle at night. It's been from day to night. You get it. So
there we go. I wanted a full commentary track on us, talking about everything. And it's just one of those things that genuinely, like, how this came about is that I approached Tyranth and said...
Kind of.
I was like, I would like to do a choreographed fight scene at least once before my health gets so bad that I can't do it anymore.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Tyranth was saying that your response was like, well, I've actually been thinking about doing the same thing on your channel.
So I originally I've got like a bunch of fight scenes that I'm going through one by one eventually. I've already done my lightsaber one. And I was watching House of the Dragon and I was so mad because there was nothing good in it. I'm like, all right, I've got to do my medieval one.
When you say nothing good, no good fight scenes.
No good fight scenes is what I mean. Like specifically one-on-one combatant type stuff. So I'm like, I want to do one of them. And I was originally going to do it with Nate. But then the next day you came in and like, I want to do a fight scene. I'm like, well, we could do that. It's okay. And I wanted this one to be a little more high production because we had not more time, but we would have more resources. I had more time to get ready in making the set, things like that. So that's how it kind of came about.
I love it. It's one of those things where I look back and I'm pretty darn chuffed with it. That's better than what I was expecting, honestly. And look, it's a credit to you with your camera work. I think that's what lifted it. The sound work.
A lot of these, I would say, don't be discouraged if you're doing a fight scene, especially on the day. On the day, it never feels like it's going to be good. You're always in the moment. You're like, oh, I don't know about this.
I had no idea how those improvised takes would look. I was like, whatever. We felt. I was legitimately surprised that one of those sequences was actually holy crap. You know.
Yeah. Please go check out the behind the scenes video on my channel. It is out of my content zone and it's got a bomb. Check it out, guys.
Yeah, like genuinely.
I go through everything. I go through all of the actual technical things, especially if you're someone who's a fan who wants to actually make a fight scene. There's a lot of little tips and tricks in there. Check it out. I'm sure something will be of use to you.
And guys, genuinely, please go and check out that video on Tyranth's channel. Give it the boost it deserves. Okay, and you'll get heaps out of it. So. Linking right here.
You convinced me to put it out on my main channel.
I did, because I was trying to tell them that I think it would be really good for people to watch, as well as we could try and give it a good, shout out here. It's right there. Click on it, guys. And I hope you've enjoyed.
This was a long episode. Long video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.